Hi, Kunthea.
Hi, Tao.
It's good to have conversation with you this morning. It would be better if we can have it over breakfast. But anyway, we get to be talking about something I know we both have shared interest, and I we have known each other for a very long time, but I never actually asked you why you come to be interested in collective well-being and how that relates to your background. For the friends who are here, this is the way we are going to do it. We are gonna have like a conversation between the two of us. And at the end of our 45 minutes conversation, you get to also join in. So, Kuntia, tell us a little bit about how it comes to be that you are interested in feminist collective well-being.
Thank you, Tao. Before I go to that, I think perhaps I can also introduce myself and maybe you also. So my name is Kunthea. I'm working with jazz based in Cambodia, jazz in Southeast Asia. And how I involved with jazz is a long time ago, but it experience that I get to know more about how the activism should be, because when I at that time, it's like in the last 10 years, I was like just a kid working like with just to really get, just want to get the salary and working for other thing. But when I involved with jazz in the last 10 years, I get to know more about the activism and how we can also increase our passion to join the social change. And then eventually I see a lot of discrimination against women and also the girl and the other marginalized group, LGBT, and also other in our society where the equality is really a big gap. So I think that also drive myself and also increase my passion to work more on this field. So I think that is my background, Pao, and maybe you can also introduce a background.
I am a lesbian activist from Thailand. Before I came to be interested in well-being for activists, we in Thailand we work together as a loose network of LGBT activists, and we have developed common problems like health issues, and we are constantly poor, and we tend to fight among each other a lot. And I started to think, if this is a common problem, maybe it's not coincidence. Maybe there are some structural things, there are some common causes that make us make it difficult for us to organize and remain healthy in our movement.
Yeah, I think because of most of the time when we're talking about well-being it sound like selfish. It's because it's also it's normalized. We as a woman birth rest in the society to care for other, but not really for ourselves. So it's like really normalize ourselves to just care for other, but not ourselves. So when we come and step down and like step down to reflect and step up to taking care for ourselves, it feels like so many consequences, so many burden, and also so many guilt, and especially as a woman being a wife, a mother, a daughter, or even a single mother. So there's so many consequences to around this. So I think that is also the issue when we're talking about the well-being, right?
Yes, even though we don't spell it out, it feels selfish, or you are being selfish. It's always there, this feeling. And I have to admit that even though my main work right now is to advocate for activists to create a culture of collective well-being in their movement, I still feel guilty sometimes when
Yeah,
I
true.
want to take rest. It's
Yeah,
very deep, internalized.
yeah, true. I think,
And yes,
yeah. No, you continue, though.
um, and I think as activists, we tend to have one rich resource that is friends. We have lots of friends. We work with lots of people and network. And so when we have hardship,
Mm-hmm.
when we feel sick, when we are depressed, or
Mm-hmm.
when we cannot feed ourselves, when we don't have money, actually, we should, in theory, we should be able to reach out to all of the friends that we have. But in my experience, um, me sometimes, and the friends in my movement, when we have problems, we don't reach out to our friends. We keep quiet. And
Yeah,
when I ask some of my friends why, and they would answer, I don't want to trouble other friends. We are already working so hard, and I
yeah.
don't want to trouble others for my own problems.
Mm. Yeah, I also facing this kind of experience, and some activists also have so much traumatized, and they also refuse. I mean, like one of the reason, like you has mentioned now, but also sometimes about trust. So even like we try to supporting them to offer like therapy or counselor, but they also don't feel trust with other. Like they always like to talk to us or some specific person, but sometimes we also don't have experience of counseling. We can like do a lot of support, emotionally support, but some deep traumatized sometimes is also a challenge and also difficult for us, but I think this kind of thing, it also one of the challenge when the activists refuse to get counseling.
Hmm.
um, and
I
also
like
I
it
think
when, yes.
we also like when we're talking about why this is issue for us, because it is also like we still somehow like we talking about internalize us, we still somehow reproducing the same like the way that patriarchal are doing in this society, and we repeat it without a knowledge or also reflect. We working very hard, like 8 hours and produce the product. But it's like, what does that mean? I mean, for us that, when it's really impact to our mental and also emotional, but also it's not, sometimes it's not really effective a lot. So if like maybe sometimes we can, uh, because sometimes like we talking about timing, everyone's so busy, but maybe sometimes when we step back and relax, or maybe do some self-care, we can go back and to do those work like within 1 hour. Or sometimes when we just like focus on producing, because it need to make it done. It's not, sometimes it take it longer, because when your brain is not fresh, when you were so stressed. So some work that you can spend 1 hour is become like 2 or 3 hours, depend on. So I think something that we also need to reflect the way of work, the structure, and also to not really focus on the products.
Hmm. I like it when you say we don't see examples of how um, we can we can be an activist and be healthy. And you are also talking about if we take a bit of rest, we become more productive. Do you have some real practices that maybe you have tried out in
Yeah.
your collective that gives the members need examples of how we can maintain the health of the friends in our collective.
Yeah, I think I can raise example from what we're doing in our team, the just regional team, Southeast Asia. So we try to really normalize the heart, mind, body, and the well-being within our team. We keep reminding, but also within our meeting, because we're not meeting like the regional, the team meeting, like when we have a review or the reflection is like 2 times a year. And during that time, we also write a love letter to each other to really see how we see the quality of each of us and how we appreciate. And we have also every week we have Friday appreciation tree. So you can write something on or any appreciation to the team and how that feeling for you within that week, because some week we have more work, some week maybe a bit relaxed, so everyone can be different. And sometimes we also travel, so how we also appreciate that. And even we discuss about menstruation, because sometimes some people very pain when they got menstruation, and that sometimes they need to also slow down, and we just inform each other that today I'm on my period, I need to be slow down space. So it's like to really create that kind of space, and that we can talk and we can feel, and we can also and don't feel guilty, because sometimes like linked to the first one that I said about reproducts the product. So when you feel like you're not so productive, you feel guilty. So sometimes like the body need to relax, the body need to rest. And sometimes you cannot really know it because you like your work, you want to do your work, but your body need it. And you know, so I think this is sometimes you need to also listen to your body, and just, I mean, like not just only talking about menstruation, but also other reproductive issue, because that's how we create the space, and so everyone can share all of those things, and building trust among all of us, and the culture of openness. I think that is important to collecting all of the concern, express the feeling, but also sharing the power within us. And even we are in the team, but we have different privilege, and how we understood that, and how we understand when we need to use, when we need to step back, when we need to make sure that we not use the power over to others. So I think those kind of things is part of building the collective care within the team. And we have also peer support, like one-to-one, and like you're checking on me, I checking on you. And when we do, I think the most important, like when we do the mistake, we responsibly, collectively, and we make it as a learning. It's not a mistake. That really effective for me, because one, you can also share the burden, and you also can see the potential of the team, because everyone has different potential, and how we learn from that experience when we share those mistakes together, and treat it as the learning, so that you not really feel so bad, but we also collectively responsible together, because that's how the team are supposed to. So when one of us make mistake, all of us collectively responsible for that. And I think we also start to also change the way of we meet, because we work in justice like globally from other region as well. So the time zone, switch the time zone, but like not all the time our evening, because when we're talking about Southern Africa or Mesoamerica, the time is very different. So most of the time is our evening from Southeast Asia. So we start to switch the time, like our morning. So it could be early morning for Southern Africa, you know. So something like this to really make something, change something that used to be normalized, and how we as the team collectively responsible for that. Because whenever we have a call at the evening or late evening, our brain also not working, you know. And when it do all the time, it's also very difficult, and we don't have input to contribute. So I think this is also radical to really change from the normal thing that you are doing, but also collective security and safety, how the team understand, and how we build our um, risk assessment and contextual analysis, that all of us can really discuss and talk, and develop the mitigation plan together, because of how to make you feel safer within others team as well. So I mean, like, when you started building from yourself, and we also have some yoga, some, you know, Zumba within the team when we have a meeting. So when we do this in the team, it is a strategy, but also in the strategy that we put it when, I mean, like, when we work with our partner, when we create a space that our partner can also talk, but also there's many things that we can also learn from them, like the way that I learned from you, how the well-being, and also like document those resources. So when we need the resource, like our partner from other country need resources, we can also reach out to you, or we reach out to other. So I think those kind of things, when we start to really normalize those kind of care, the self-care is collective care, it can contribute and impact a lot to the work, and to expanding when we work with our partner, when we using the family popular education, the approach that we try to collect the experience from other, but also all the sessions we integrate, you know, the storytelling and integrate. So I think those is starting from us, and that will have influence to the way that we work with other like partner network or our allies. So I think that's from my experience now. Maybe you can share from your.
I think we do similar things, and I still learn from your practices. I totally agree when you say we feel guilty when we are not productive. And I think the most important thing for me, and probably my collective and network, to be able to create this culture of care, is to change how we think about it. When we rest, it's a triumph. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's doing something courageous. It's breaking the norm. It's not laziness. I think laziness is a narrative um, thrown to us by people who are not in our positions. I have never met a single activist who is lazy. We're not lazy. We work our heart off, our heart bleeds. We can never be lazy. We are just tired. And so when we feel we don't want to do it today, we can respect it. And when we decide to take some rest or some time for ourselves, I think it is important, especially for women and LGBTQ people. It's important for our friends to encourage it, to say, yes, take rest. Yes, you are doing the right thing. Or when we are pushing ourselves to a limit, it's important for our friends to say, do you think that's too much? Um, do you feel tired? Do you wanna take some days to rest, or maybe a week? And when we have practiced that, I discover that in we can really keep ourselves in check. It's not perfect yet because the internalization is very strong. This drive for us to do more and it's not enough. That is strong. Especially we are taught to care for others and to sacrifice. As taught to be women, and also in in movement, we have this subculture that other people are suffering, so we need to work more. So I find that it is difficult and impossible for one person in the movement to resist, to say, I need to rest. But other people are working. So it's more possible if everybody say, yes, that's the right idea. You should rest.
Yeah.
And for menstruation too, because the rest of the world tend to ignore our pains when our period comes. I think we talk more about it. And when people in our group say, it's my period time, we check, are you comfortable? Do you want to just take it slow today? The AC is too cold? Or something like that, like make it more, because just doing it at a normal level doesn't compensate to how the world has neglected this issue of ours. In our group, we agree that our work time should be 4 days a week and only 6 hours per day. And to be honest, we cannot really do it. We work more than that, but it's good to have a common understanding of what to expect. So when we work more than that, we know this is not expected, and actually we deserve rest. And we try to take relationship and problems at home into consideration when we work together. For example, in some time, friends have family problems, or they have love life crisis, and that should be taken into account, that okay, maybe they cannot function well today. That's understandable. This, I find it's very important for LGBTQ activists, because in larger world, our relationship is not really that accepted or recognized. And so relationship becomes something very important for us. And in some days, we face relationship problems. When we have relationship problems, there is a tendency that LGBTQ people deal with it themselves because they don't have social system to back them up. So in our collective, we tend to discuss that and allow space for people to bring it up, so it's embraced in our collective. And women in general too, family and relationship, people would say it's a personal thing, and in industrious world, they develop this idea of professionalism. And when you want to be professional, you don't bring in your personal issues into work. But that will be very difficult for women and grassroots women, and women and LGBTQ people in general, when half of their time is taking care of people in their relationship and family. So it's like cutting them off. And one last thing I want to say to also second what you said about collective experiences. You say you want to create a space for people to talk about their experiences. I think this is very important for progressive feminist movement or any social movement at all. And well-being is a big part in it. If we center our thought around what makes us unhappy and unhealthy and allow a space for people to share experiences, we can continue to discover the causes of suppression, the causes of inequality that are not already addressed or recognized in the larger movement, because we must not forget that oh, the formal problems or the recognized problems tend to be the problems that powerful people are already talking about. So to allow space for everyone to share what is making them unhappy, even though they cannot have the words to describe them yet, I think that can keep the movement um, progressive and push the movement forward to continue to discover causes of inequality, no matter how small it is or how submerged or subtle it is.
Yeah. I think you remind me something within your experience. I think when we talk, this is why we always said personal is political, because it's how important, and especially when we're talking about the movement building, who build the movement? It's human being, it's us. So if we are not healthy, how we gonna build a movement? So I think this is very connecting, and when we're talking about the crisis of any like relationship or family or professional work or whatever, it's about us, it's all of us, because sometimes the issue is because of the gender norm, because of the internal layers of the patriarchal. So how are we as a feminist to support each other, not to like, okay, you cannot work, you need to resign, but how are we going to support that? How are we dealing with those kind of issue? I think that is important, because and like you said, it's happened. We are not perfect. It always happen, but every day we keep reminding ourselves and what our principle when the issue coming up, and how we try to think the way creative way, not normalize the way that how it always sold, and how we really value the people experience, the woman experience, the LGBT experience. I think that is important, because sometimes we decide on behalf of the people. We not really do, even like we said that we are participatory process. We use participatory process, but sometimes the way that we are doing is not really. So always keep reflection. And when we're talking about menstruation, it's not just only body pain, but also emotional. Sometimes some feeling, some month you really feel down and you don't really know why. Sometimes you just want to cry, or you're feeling so down, you like, something like that. So how are we really understand and be together collectively, support us as a team, and also I know like this is also part of the work. And the same, with seeing COVID in jazz, we also say like we have the policy like to only work for 6 hours per day, but it's never happened actually. But we try at the same, and after 6 hours we feel a little bit relaxed, like okay, that is our expectation, but it's there. So I think that is still some issue that we need to address. So I think that maybe go to the next one, that link why it is hard. Maybe you can share why it is hard for us, to really taking care. And yeah,
I think we have mentioned a little bit about why it is hard, because of socialization and internalization of capitalism and patriarchy, that make people, I would say, the core of it is that the cultures are trying to make us not human. And we we are not human. We are working machine, or we are professional, or we are perfect, or we are heroes. These terms, these labels are not actually human. And I think we are fighting to be human, to be non-perfect, to learn as we do it, and to have bad days, to not deliver sometimes, and to hold each other, to feel personal, and to bring our personal lives into it.
Yeah, and I just also to add something. I think we already talked some of that around why it's hard, but also sometimes it's the burden within the system of the donor of the funder. Sometimes the local, especially organization or group, has so many demanding, like one donor have different format report or period, so it's like across the year you're just spending time to really do those kind of administration thing, and not really have so much time to think strategically and even to really taking care of yourself. So I think this is something that we also need to discuss collectively, how we address this and how we talk to the donor or the funder that we can have, this kind of global report or something, because different donors have different requirements. So I think that is also important, because otherwise people are like, why are you busy? I'm doing report, I'm doing audit, I'm doing financial report. It's like most of the time. And I think that's something we need to consider. I think we almost run out of time.
I want to add a little bit about funding.
Okay.
I think funding should sustain the humans more, not just the activities. Because it's the humans to do activities. And if humans can eat, sleep, pay their debts, and be happy, they do work. Actually, I think what we should invest the most for collective well-being in the movement is to pay the people enough.
Yeah.
But we have overall lower the rate and expectation because we need to sacrifice.
Yeah.
That makes it really difficult.
Yeah, I know. And perhaps we also thinking with some of the resources that we already have at the community, how we build, how we mobilize those resources, like what we were discussed last week in Thailand, so within our, like, when we're talking about resources, so many resources that we have, like a human resource, knowledge, and even the money from the community. How are we using those kind of existing resources that we have? So I think we go to the last point. So what would be the final, what would be one idea that you would like to end this call? I mean, like this conversation with me, and that you think is really important?
You go first? You go first?
You want me to go first? I think maybe like we all actually, there's so many things that we discuss about the issue or the hardship why we cannot really taking care of ourselves. Even us, we also not perfect. When we met, we like, oh, I'm so tired, I travel a lot. But I think keep practice it, keep really remind. And like you said, sometimes we might be not feel good enough to take rest, but the reminder from our team or our friend is also important, the system that we have. So but to do that, to be able to do that, you also change your mind, because some activists or feminists still not believe that well-being or wellness is part of your work. You still feel that is selfish, that feel guilty. So I think how we really change that and try to really think creatively of the way that we taking care of ourselves beyond the normalized thing, the normal that we are doing right now. So I think that would be important for me, starting from yourself, because like you asking me some of the experience that I have, like, you know, sometimes I feel like so exhausted, but when I decide to go 1 hour yoga and when I come back, I can really focus on the work and I have more power to do that. So we need to believe that it really influence or impact to the way, but it's not mean that yoga is work for everyone, because we are different. Maybe other thing can work for you. So what that kind of you know, energy that you can feel, but respect your body. Maybe you don't think that your body need to rest, but actually it's need when it used over of the time. So I think that's from me, Tao.
I think for me, what is really important is probably I want to invite myself and my friends in the movement to think about why we are doing this at a personal level. How can we have a great system but feel unhappy all the time? At the end of the day, we want us and friends and people around us to be happy and healthy. And that is why well-being, collectively, personally, it's a means to fight back the system. It's not a side dish. It's how we make the change from within and use that experience to deliver change outside, I think.
Yeah, I think that really
So,
important.
shall
How
we
we really
open?
make it, how we really make well-being and collective care as also our work. It's not like, you know, a luxury or like something special, but how is it? But also thinking about how the privilege that we also have, that is can be different from other. So how we also, you know, balance those kind of things.
Oh, talking about privilege and well-being, we haven't discussed this, but maybe some of the listeners here can share back.
Yeah.
I understand that the West has become like active about well-being,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, I think the more suppressed you are, the more well-being is important. It's
Yeah.
not the other way around that you are a privileged group, that's why you have access to well-being. It should be the other way around, that healing and health is very important to sustain people in the
Yeah.
movement. That's why it's important for marginalized people. And what is important for marginalized groups to have well-being? It's their conversation to have. It's their say to say this is important for us to be included in well-being discussion.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I think that's a lot need to discuss. We can spend the whole time, the whole day to really talk about it, but I think we don't really have that so much time. Maybe we can bring in Bronze to join us to go to the second session.
Hi. Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Bronze.